Hello, and welcome to the Battle Wagon. I'm back with another bolt action video, probably my final one in version 2. In a week, I am attending a competitive event and wanted to share a quick analysis of the lists. There are a few things to point out before I discuss the list compositions. The United States has a tournament scene that is quite different than the rest of the world. There are several high-profile events typically found at large conventions. While convention events draw extremely large crowds, their results are not always indicative of a championship. In fact, some of the tournament packs have deficiencies that deter players from entering with a competitive mindset. The geographic distances also provide a restriction, especially to players like myself who reside in a remote Midwest and can't often attend events on either extreme coast. Consequently, our bolt action community has formed regional championships, such as the Sledgehammer Grand Tournament. I keep hearing about intentions to create a tournament circus, but I have yet to see this arrive. Honestly, I'm a little envious of the European communities, which seem to be able to organize true national championships. Sledgehammer is a grand tournament designed to create an extremely competitive environment. As I'll discuss in a moment, the tournament pack is designed to create an environment which is focused on the skill level of play rather than creating lists skewed towards units or purpose. 1,125 requisition points means players can't just play any existing 1K or 1250 lists. An 18 order dice limit allows for horde style play while preventing a 40 plus dice game which only gets to turn 3. There is a limit to a single platoon reinforced from the armies of book. Additional specific armies are allowed, which one person has been found to bring a British and Inter-Allied Commandos list from the D-Day British and Canadian book. Units from all books may be used if its entry states that it may be used in the generic reinforced platoon. There are also a few units in early campaign books that were also allowed, but I do not recall seeing any of them being chosen to be used. A maximum of 2 has been placed on Gurkhas, bamboo spearfighters, cavalry, and shirkers. A maximum of 1 has been placed on multi-launchers, heavy howitzers, and flamethrowers. Only 1 free unit is allowed per army, and in order to encourage minor nations, the Axis support slot was expanded to include any generic reinforced platoon unit. Germany, Italy, Hungary, Bulgaria, Slovakia, and Finland were allowed to trade 1 national rule for a free veteran machine gun team. Disallowed are special characters, war correspondents, naval observers, experimental rules, and other rules from campaign books. Lastly, the 5 scenarios were available prior to the list submission deadline. Units lost was chosen as a tiebreaker, which definitely has an effect on unit choices. There are 19 players representing 7 nations. The most plentiful is Germany, coming in with 6 lists, followed by 4 British Commonwealth and 3 Soviet lists. Japan and the US are tied at 2. For minor nations, there are 1 each of Hungary and the Netherlands. Notably absent are the Belgians, French, Italians, and partisans. There are tournament players in this region which play each of those armies, but it appears there may have been some scheduling conflicts or alternative nation choices. The overall average of order dice is 15.26, which is pretty decent. However, most individual nations average between 16 and 17, which is a good amount for an 1125 list. There are 2 standouts. Despite getting a free unit, German players choose to spend their extra points on quality rather than quantity. Similarly, the 2 US lists are running veteran heavy lists and are found at 12 and 13 dice. While some nations are using the officer as a tax, there is a surprising number of people attempting to turn it into a usable small unit and include an assistant. I find that this type of tactic waxes and wanes based on popularity of snipers. In this particular region, I've actually never seen a player try political officers with inexperienced units. It's something I've been meaning to do myself. There are 2 regular and 1 veteran medic. These are used in veteran-heavy lists to preserve combat effectiveness. I've always been a little surprised that inexperienced armies don't use more medics for the chance to save more bodies. I've actually considered running the numbers on which method statistically actually saves more points. To no one's surprise, there's no air observers. There are, however, 4 regular artillery observers, of which 3 are the free British ones and 1 has been chosen by a Soviet player. Of note, there are 4 British lists, but 1 is the commando list, which doesn't get that special rule. There are only 5 AT rifles, which is surprising and infrequent considering the amount of lightly armored vehicles. You could expect a man-packed anti-tank team in about 1 out of every 4 games, of which 1 is a Blacker Bombard. There are 11 dog mines and suicide AT men spread over 5 lists. Be sure to brush up on the use of the dog mines. I know I'll have to. The free machine gun team leads the way with 7 veteran units, but several of the lists chose to double up with one of their other 5 machine gun teams. In about half the games, you should expect to see a sniper, which is rather surprising with the number of inexperienced officers and team weapons. There are 19 mortars spread between light, medium, and heavy. Notably, the only spotters are on medium mortars, and about half of the mortars are inexperienced, including all 4 heavies. There are 3 light howitzers, one of which has the 25-pounder AT shell. There are 4 medium howitzers, but one list does take 2 due to their national special rule. One of the Japanese lists includes a spigot mortar. Both howitzer tanks are M7 priests. One is regular, one is veteran. There is very little in the way of stationary AT guns or autocannons. 1 light AT, 1 88, and 1 heavy autocannon, and none on the armored fighting vehicle. Lastly, for indirect fire, you can expect to see a multi-launcher across the table much less frequently than expected. One player has chosen to equip his Sherman with a Calliope launcher so that it is versatile, with a weapon for every occasion. Light vehicles, however, are plentiful. From British 3-for-1 motorcycles to the SAS transport jeep, expect your troops to be targeted by multiple machine guns. Even more prevalent are the 7+ vehicles that act like armored cars, creating pseudo-tank lists. There are 2 8-armor Pumas ready to hunt down every vehicle present. There are 13 regular 8-armor tanks. 11 of those are gunboats with multiple machine guns, while only 2 function as true armored fighting vehicles. There are only 2 9-armor vehicles, one Stu-42 and the multi-purpose Sherman with the Calliope that I mentioned earlier. There are a total of 89 infantry squads, meaning not every list is running all 5 squads. 10 of these are inexperienced, most oriented towards skirmishing. 30 are regular, with the vast majority built for skirmishing, with some assault focused and 1 forward deploy. Players have chosen to spend their points on high-quality veteran infantry with this single platoon. There isn't much cavalry or body armor, but 5 do have flamethrowers embedded within. There are about a 50-50 mix between assault focus and skirmishing veterans. There are 8 flamethrower teams, 1 being veteran. 2 BA-20s make an appearance as a flamethrower armored car. No one, however, has chosen to put it on their vehicle. This is typically indicative of the limit of 1 flamethrower. There are 15 total flamethrowers, meaning you might occasionally escape their threat. There are only 6 small transports, which surprisingly implies that there are some foot-slogging bazookas and flamethrowers. Also unexpected is the lack of medium trucks like the Dodge 3/4 ton and 15 CWT. However, with the introduction of the generic trucks, there are 20 vehicles that can transport a full squad, 13 of which have machine guns. There is even one 2.5 ton truck with 18 transport capacity. I haven't admittedly looked into that list as to how it'll function. 7+ transports like the White Scout car and Bren Carrier make an occasional appearance. Lastly, there are 2 tows. Direct fire stationary guns will have limited mobility, and no one appears to want to risk losing an order dice with cheap tows. If you've watched this far, you likely know who Bo Mortensen is, and that he has given immensely to the bolt-action community. I chose 3 lists that I thought would perform the best at the event and asked for Bo's scale. In the interest of fairness, I am only highlighting these lists without providing further commentary. List 1 has an entire British motor pool which scores a solid 4 on Bo's scale. This list has enough machine gun vehicles and combined arms to allow its veteran infantry free reign. It's topped off with a Recce Stewart. List 5 has mounted Dutch troops for a score of 4 to 4.5. There are 7 vehicles with 6 or 7 armor, and all of the infantry are transported. To top it off, the list has 2 medium artillery providing fire support. List 15 is designed to overrun the enemy for a score of 3.5 to 4. Leading the way are 3 LMG motorcycles and assault-oriented veteran, some of which are mounted. This list also features supporting small teams and the dreaded 18-shot Stewart. That's all I have for now. I hope you enjoyed this short video. Have a wonderful day.